Not only is Artcam Insignia a fantastic software package for dealing with data from other systems, bitmaps, GIFs, JPEGs or vectors, it's also a fantastic vector design package in its own right. In this case, we're going to run through an example to design a customer's sign and just show you a number of the tools that we've got at our disposal here. First of all, to build my basic geometry, I'm going to switch on the snap grid, set it to a value of 25mm and use that to help me to accurately draw a couple of different shapes here. Firstly a circle, and then we're going to put a polyline right through the middle of that. Taking that line, I'm going to go into the node editing mode, just using the shortcut keys we've got inside of Artcam Insignia, and actually add 2 nodes and then smooth those nodes as well, allowing me to very quickly move this data around using the mouse, but accurately snapping again to the snap grid. So I'm able to create a wave very quickly there that is exactly how I want it to look. Next, I'm just going to move that data down a little. I'm actually going to create a copy of that line, and all I'm doing is holding the control key down and moving it in order to create a copy of that data, and then we'll just center that data a little bit better. So very quickly there, using the snap grid, we've created our basic geometry. Next, I'm going to switch off the snap grid, go into the layers and create some layers. Layers are an organisational tool that let me control whether I see or hide data at different points in time. This can be extremely powerful for design, as we're going to use it here, but it's also very powerful when I'm setting up a part for machining as well. So there we've got 5 different layers now, including the default layer. I'm going to take this data and move it onto a couple of these different layers, and I'm actually going to copy these 2 waves, and then I'm just going to undraw the layers and make sure we're working on the wave layer and paste those onto that layer, and that's made a copy on that layer. Now what I can do is use the joining tools and the closing tools in order to close that to make a single closed object. I'm going to go into the offsetting tool. I'm going to offset this by 10mm outwards with sharp corners, and I want to delete the originals. Then I'm going to offset it and make a copy, and we'll just move these offsets again onto a couple of different layers and undraw the wave that we've got there and draw the construction lines back on again. Next, I want to create some text. So I have many different fonts that I can access within Artcam Insignia. In this case, we're going to use Palatino Linotype 50mm and just type the name of the business. Now I want this to fit between these 2 lines, so one option I've got is maybe to use the text on a curve tool. If we go into the text on a curve, I can see that I've got the options of how I want that to be positioned. I can have it offset from the line if I want, I can move that around, but I can see in this case this is not really going to give me the look that I want, so I'm going to cancel out of that and use another editing tool we've got for vectors. If we go to the envelope distortion tool, this is a very powerful tool that I can use to distort vectors. I can make something look like it's got a perspective look to it, or we can really do some very interesting distortions to really bend vectors around and make them have some different shapes. In this case though, I want to use some geometry to help me to change the shape of these. So I'm going to pick the 2 curves and ask the software to fit those vectors between it. And you can see extremely quickly I was able to generate the look that I need in this case. Just going to take the letters and move those onto the letters layer, delete the last piece of construction we've got there, and draw the sum. For this we're going to take it and offset it outwards and inwards a couple of times. First we're going to go outwards 10mm, then inwards 40mm. And now I'm going to actually take this data, and what I want to do is use the vector library to import a design that I use a lot, and this is a design of a flame. The vector library literally is what it says. It's a library of objects that I've got saved onto my hard drive that Artcam will automatically fill the library with, EPS or DXF or AI files, and I can just click on these to load these files in. In this case I want the file here with the flame, and we're going to take that and paste it around this curve, and we're going to specify 24. Again, I'm going to take this vector that we've got here and just offset that inwards a little bit further, another 10mm, and then I'm going to select that and the vectors around the outside of this, and we're going to merge those together using the Welding Tool. Now Artcam's going to find the union of all these shapes and give me a single vector to represent that. Next I'm going to switch on the wave layer, and I'm actually going to trim different parts of the sign now in order to get our finished look that we need. With the trimming tool I can manually click and trim out areas, or in this case I'm just going to explode the entire selection, which will let me simply pick the pieces I want, and then using our join tool I can actually join those together where they have coincident endpoints, and we can move those onto a different layer there. Switch that off, and then what I want to do here is take this and join these vectors, and then I'm going to move that onto a different layer, and then I'm just going to delete the pieces that I don't want, and join the rest of these. When I'm happy with that, that will allow me now to draw back on the construction layer, and what we're going to do is make some copies of this vector that we've got here, and we'll go with 15mm offsets, and then I'm going to select this inner vector, pick these outer vectors, and ask the software to trim them so that I only have these lines inside that original shape. Does that very quickly, and we can just draw all the rest of the data on here to show you the completed sign, to see how very easy it was for us to create that from scratch in Artcam Insignia, draw all the data we needed, distort it, make copies and trim it as we needed to.